A man was attacked in the street. They took everything and left his unconscious, dying body there on the side of the road. A Christian came across him, made a prayer, and went on their way. A Muslim came across him, cheered Allah Akbar, and went on their way. A Hindu came across him, condemned him for what must be deserved karma, and went on their way. A Buddhist came across him, waved their hand in a rainbow, said, "Peace," and went on their way. An atheist came across him, threw some coins at the ground, and went on their way. A feminist came across him, pointed and laughed, and went on their way. A Democrat came across him, noticed his skin colour, and went on their way. A Conservative came across him, noticed he was from out of town, and went on their way. A normie sheeple came across him, put their head down to pretend not to see him, and went on their way. A government official came across him, kicked him, and threatened to call the police. This is the story of the Good Samaritan. The story begins with experts asking Jesus how to gain eternal life. It's widely believed today that you inherit eternal life by simply accepting the free gift of eternal life offered by Jesus. But Jesus taught otherwise. He taught that only the good in people can be saved. Like a fire, the day of judgment will burn all things, leaving only the good. And if there is no good in you, nothing of you will survive the fire. In 2013, I was betrayed and sabotaged by everyone on all sides. I was like the man in the street, but far worse. And while most people made excuses to turn a blind eye to this day, many attacked me further like opportunistic vultures as I lay helpless. Would you believe it? A misguided Muslim of all people offered a small help once, offering me a sandwich and a few words. He gave the sandwich to a homeless woman in the end. Muslims are genetically selected and inbred for rape, war, genocide, and all manner of evil. And yet, even among the worst of mankind, there is at least some good among them, which shows that there is something worth saving in this world. Historically, many people, guided or misguided, have sacrificed their lives for what they believe to be moral causes. Today, the world is full of toxic, lying hypocrites who pretend to be someone they aren't and try to go under the radar, while the more competent of them spend all their time scheming to keep up appearances while pretending to be a pacifist victim when they fall victim to their own predatory ways. And the less competent just live a meaningless life, looking forward to the next weekend of celebrating the emptiness of their lives. My plan, whether under the label of anonymous or otherwise, was to stir up passion within a docile, stupefied world enslaved by apathy with a psychological enchantment spell. To break those chains that were placed upon recent generations means that both good and evil are released from Pandora's box. The plan was to grow both flowers and weeds, the passion of good and evil, out of a lifeless land of apathy, atrophy, and rot. To give the mindless drones a chance at choosing good or evil for themselves. Look around you. How is apathy working for you? You try to hide in a corner somewhere and live out a meaningless life away from the bad stuff in a desert oasis while the world around you burns. This is all your fault, all of you. Any and every excuse possible to turn a blind eye to your responsibilities and pretend that you're the good guy. The story of the Good Samaritan is a story about your own hypocrisy. Your whole persona is a lie to cover up your true ugly colours. In the context of the story, the Samaritan was alone, rejected and despised by everyone around him, considered himself to be unworthy. He didn't have a narcissistic ego that disconnected him from the consequences of his own actions. Without an ego, he was able to see that he could save someone's life with little effort or cost. Everyone around him, on the other hand, was so full of themselves that refusing to help the dying man was twisted into one perverted, fake virtue or another that always somehow made them the good guy. And when one cannot fool themselves with their own lies, they just turn a blind eye and pretend it never happened. This is what bad people do. Most of them think they're good people and usually alternate between unstable extremes of self-hatred and admiration. Like a time bomb, your best friend one moment, stabbing you in the back the next. It often manifests as inappropriate self-promotion on social media, with memes about how you're frail and non-threatening yet powerfully strong in some humble way. The dance of extremes often happens within the same sentence, in a struggle to redirect ugly truths about oneself and twist shame into a virtue, where the caught predator is suddenly the victim, stuck in a frail bubble of toxic fantasy, constantly being poked at by the truth and running away from anything that conflicts with their fantasy version of themselves. You are not defined by your reputation or victim statuses, but your actions and the intent behind them. It doesn't matter what you say you do or you will do. What matters is what you actually do. The Good Samaritan story is one of the most important stories of all time. And it doesn't matter what your beliefs are. It's not proposed as a real story, but a hypothetical scenario to show how almost everyone is a lying hypocrite who will betray anyone else at the first sign of struggle. And that is why the world is in such a mess to begin with. Your hypocrisy is the cause. You. And the worst of all are the caught predators who are desperate to self-promote as a strong, frail, pacifist victim, preaching their humility from a pedestal. I've dedicated my life to giving this world the best chance I can. I do so because I remember my promises to those in the past who actually fought for something, helped each other, and put everything on the line because it was right and not for a reward. If they saw how pathetic and weak you are today, they would kill you themselves in disgust and protection of the heritage they fought for, that you shit on. All this apathy and hypocrisy is a psychological spell that has been refined over decades to turn you into a mindless drone, a slave who thinks they're free, who will fight for their chains, a villain who thinks they're the hero and wastes all their time reinforcing their self-image with none to spare to give their lives actual value. There's so little good left in this world that it isn't even worth saving. But I sacrificed everything to give it a chance for reasons outside this pathetic generation of lying hypocrites. I do it for your ancestors and old promises made to them. And I do it for future generations who have a chance at using the heritage you shit on. If anyone survives this shithole you made, they're going to look at you and your hypocrisy in absolute disgust. Since Christianity is the world's biggest ideology, what is the one thing that upset Jesus to the point where he became violent? And the one thing that their God also hates above all else? Lying, hypocrite narcissists. There's only one thing more pathetic and morally offensive than a piece of shit. And that's a piece of shit who thinks they're a diamond with an ego the size of the universe. The story of the Good Samaritan is a simple lesson that no one seems to get. It was a warning of what was to come. alongside other stories warning you about how you treat strangers, or even those you think you know. Because among them are very important people who walk among you and will test and judge you, as I have. I am the man in the street. I was attacked in the street because I was also a good Samaritan. That's what I was attacked for. None of the onlookers knew that the man allowed himself to be attacked and injured on purpose, throwing away his life at the end of his mission, to give them all a chance at intervening to save his life, and therefore giving their own lives value and making a case for or against them. But all are hypocrites. I could have fought back instead of laying unconscious on the side of the road, mortally wounded and stripped of everything. I could have stopped myself from being tortured and infected with a curable bacteria that will take my life any day now. I could have single-handedly hunted down every major villain and killed them all myself. But I won't protect hypocrites. And I can only help those who pass the test I sacrificed my life to provide.